being immortal. So when you is hard for a quarter, man, we gonna ride. I'm not playing. We ain't leaving out a dub. I promise you. I'm getting everything out. That beat shit is far a little ball. Hey, I like thanks to my nigga them. We gon' play with them pistols here. We smoking dank in my liver, yo. We get shit wet on river, yo. We get shit wet like the river, yo. I wet shit like Austin Rivers, yo. Hey, check me out. On my side is getting wicked, nigga sliding. Mama told that boy to shake the city, so he ride. On that Mac, it be a titty, show no pity when we diving. Roll your brother in the game before he hitting, why you hiding? OG now be dropping bags, no I don't, bitch, why you lying? MN's closet popping tags, spent 5 racks on my designer. Put 15 up on your ass, but that's your ass.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Sideline Surge. This is our college episode right after the national championship. It is a somber one because UM lost, and yeah, it was tough watching that game. I'm not gonna lie. Um, I think there's probably a clip somewhere, like we could probably find it, where we were talking about when Carson Beck came to UM in the first place, and we did not really we questioned his ability to perform in high pressure moments. And unfortunately, it seems that we were right in the end, which is not something I like to say here. But for me, I mean, it's a 21 to 27 game. You're going against a team that, they were beating teams in the college playoffs by 30 plus points. Mendoza was getting 5 touchdowns apiece, and we limited him to only a rushing touchdown and under 200 yards. So I'll take it where we can get it. Um, I'm gonna start just putting out some stats here in a second, but Samaj, is there any like overall comments you have to the game now that it's all over?
I mean, not really. I knew this was gonna happen. It's just like the thing about UM. It's not even like it wasn't like they under delivered. It's just, bro, they were not playing the way they should have in like certain parts of the game. Like, decision making it wasn't the best. So like people gonna look at Carson Beck as a huge problem, and don't get me like he definitely did do too much stuff that like hurt them. But then again, it's like if he's doing everything he can, and then receivers may not be up to par every single play, or he doesn't have time. Like it's stuff like that. That's gonna come in. That's it's gonna come against him. So
Yeah,
I mean, you can see that he did everything he could. It's just that like we've been calling, bro. You can't let like certain situations in the game get you off of your rhythm. Like you can't let that shake you up too much. 'Cause it's gonna happen exactly how it did last night. Like receiver didn't even have a chance to catch the ball. He wasn't even near it. Like stuff like that's gonna happen, and you're gonna be panicking. So I don't know. UM like I don't think that they will be able to come back next year only because like you're gonna have so many things that's gonna like
so many
I
pieces
guess
that
you
are
could say
leaving.
like yeah, like not only just leaving, but it's just that like that same mindset is not gonna be there. Like your overall performance and everything, it's not like it's gonna be the same exact thing. So I
Yeah.
mean we've seen it before, but it doesn't mean like it's gonna be there again. So I don't know. They played their heart out. They surprised everybody making it that far. So I mean that's a win, but either way, if they would have finished the game strong, then we're having a different conversation.
Um, well, like I think it's also the problems that we saw in the championship, which is notably Carson Beck and special teams, because defense played great. Like unironically, they played great. Our receivers and our running backs played great. We had both Malachi Tony with plus 100 yards catching a touchdown. We had Mark Fletcher with 2 touchdowns and 112 yards rushing. But it is those same problems that I think were happening all season with special teams and with Carson Beck. Special teams, our field goal kicker was 7 and 13 on the season. He missed a very vital field goal kick in this game. and we got a punt blocked because notably, when you get a punt blocked, usually it's just unlucky. Like the other team made a play, but here you could tell just on a basic eye test that special teams did not do their job. I think it was number 24, like that punt blocker on the right side blocked air. Like when he put out his arm out, he blocked air. The guy went straight past him, and that's just a failure on his part. And these are problems. It's not isolated to this game. It's problems that we've noticed all year that, you know, we've been seeing all year. But why do you think it didn't really come back to bite us until now?
Well, I mean, you have certain games to where it's not always going to be the same result. Like the same as I think can happen, but that doesn't mean it's going to play out the same way. Like we've seen Carson Beck, throw picks late game before, and that would be game changing. But then defense may come out and get a stop, and they may be able to score. Stuff like that is what kind of helped them all season long. They've had a few games to where it's like you have every right to doubt them. You have every right to be like, yo, like y'all have all the talent, in the world, but yeah, then y'all can't even do anything with it. Like you have the ability and the authority to do that. But when it comes to, certain games that like I put it this way, you're never gonna have the same type of mindset or even just the same type of, like, okay, I have to do this every single game. You're never going to have that. So with that, it's like, yeah, this is going to happen, but then I may not be thinking of it in a certain type of way. So now if this happens, like, okay, I threw a pick or whatever, but then now defense got to go out there and get a stop. Like, nah, you actually had time on the clock to get a stop. Now you have 40 seconds left. What are you going to do with that? You know?
Yeah,
So it's certain stuff like that that's going to make you like now I can't throw the ball. I can't throw an interception and stuff like that. And you're only going to be thinking about it so many times that even when you pack the ball and during the play, you take those that drop back, try to throw it, and I was like, nah, now you're sitting there praying like, just I hope it's not a pick. I hope it's not a pick. But then
yeah,
for another game, it's like I hope this receiver's blocking. I hope my O line can hold. You're thinking about certain stuff, So with that game, it was like it only came back to bite them because they were thinking about the wrong thing at the wrong time, almost all throughout the whole game, you know. But earlier in the season, it was more of like okay, it's on to the next play. Like it's that short term memory is gone. That's what they had. But in this game, they didn't have that. You could see how every single time Beck would make a mistake, it would like he would just you know be tired. Like
yeah,
his everything was just gone. Like he had no energy. Like nothing was there. And then you can't have that as a leader, especially as a QB in a game like this. You can't have that. But I mean, either way, like they still did everything they could. It wasn't like they had a solid 5 minutes on the clock left. Like nah, that was
they
a
had a
2 minute
minute and
drive.
40. Yeah,
Like they were right there. They literally did everything they could, bro. I mean, Indiana's just a great team, so it's going to be like that. It's not like you're gonna have an easy team, you know, um, in the chip. So I don't know. Hopefully he like shakes back from it because I'm already knowing mentally right now like he's going through it, bro.
yeah,
All the way from Georgia. His last game in Georgia, injury, couldn't hold a football for months after that. Then not coming back, a year later, trying to have the team on his back I know it's a lot for him to handle. I mean, as long as they learn from that, that not just him, but overall, UM as a franchise, as a team, if they learn from that, I think they'll definitely be right back to where they were, this year. So we just have to see.
yeah. We're gonna talk about some draft positions here since now that the season is over. These two teams had their share of great players who are gonna be on the draft board. And I think first off, we have to start with the quarterbacks. Mendoza after this game, he has now won the Heisman and he has won the national championship. It is basically guaranteed that he will go first round overall. He will be the first pick in the draft, and he is probably going to be a Las Vegas Raider. Now, um, the Raiders are a team right now. The Raiders have their shit going. But he does have weapons there to start with. He has Ashton Genty already there, who's gonna already have a year under his belt, and he's gonna have Brock Bowers, who even with a pretty bad Raiders team has been showing out for them. So now that Mendoza is likely gonna be there, do you think the Raiders will be able to hit the ground running, or do you think Mendoza is gonna need some more help at the Raiders?
Well, I say he's going to need more help only because when you go from a team that's so well polished and like every single position is doing what they're supposed to be doing to a team that's like they've been slowly rebuilding for so long, and yet you can only depend on so many people, it's completely different. And then not only just that being different, now you're coming into the pro league. You're the highest level of football. It's not like you went from high school to probably a D3 school, then D2, being transferred to D1. Now you're about to go to league. Like nah, you went from a school all the way to the pro level. So with that, it's like, yeah, he may need some help, but you never know. I mean, we've seen stuff like this happen before, to where the team may be in shambles, but then one player just makes a huge difference. Like we don't know. But then again, as a rookie QB, it's a lot to handle, bro. It's a whole lot to handle, and when you're having two offensive weapons, that's only going to take you so far.
Yeah,
Like you may have Genty, you may have of course, if your O line can't hold, then what? If you got receivers, but then they can't hold onto the ball, then what? Defense may not be able to hold up in clutch moments, and then you lose the game. It's stuff like that that's going to come into play. Now, just for him, he may be great. I don't really think he's going to come into the league and be like, is he a fraud? I don't think so. People may have their doubts and all that, but I really doubt it. And mainly because when you look at the program he's coming from, as head coach, you could tell that he's prepared for it's not like he's just getting thrown into there and he's trying to do everything himself. Nah, he
yeah.
has a good program behind him. So I think that he'll do pretty good. I'm not gonna say he's gonna take them all the way to the chip in the next like 3-4 years. I'm not gonna say that, but I mean, it starts with him. They Raiders have been doing everything they could for so long now. So they keep adding on more pieces, then it'll only get better for him.
Yeah, and on the other side of the ball, we got Carson Beck. I think the whole season he's been maybe like a late third rounder if he even gets drafted at all. After the run that he's had these playoffs, I would probably say that he's a late second rounder. Do you think of that as well? Like, is there a team that you think is gonna pick him up?
I mean, there's definitely gonna be a team that's gonna pick him up, but I think that we're gonna have a similar situation kind of with Shador. I mean, definitely not getting drafted late, but I think he's gonna be under, like that vet QB, and he'll probably, get some reps. I think that's
Yeah,
what's gonna happen. I don't see him going, to a team right away and starting, because that's very difficult already. Like we don't see that happen too much unless that team really has no quarterbacks, on their roster. So with that, I mean, he could definitely be a late second rounder. It's just we'll really have to see where the picks line up, because right now I feel like late second round we're definitely gonna be looking at teams. Like maybe you could even put the Saints in there. You could even have another team like the Seahawks. You could have you could Dolphins. You could have so many different teams in that. So it's really hard to tell with late second round. Late second round is always like one of the most difficult parts, because of course you have your worst teams, then it goes down. It's obviously your best teams, and then it's out of order from there. So from that we won't really know, but he I mean he could prove us wrong if the draft goes well and he gets late first round. We don't know, but I think we both can agree like he's for certainly a second round, 1,000%.
yeah. The next person on this list, hold on, because I'm looking at like the because Fletcher is still gonna be back. Malachi Tony's gonna be back. Uh, wide receiver. We do have Elijah Surratt who's gonna be going to the draft from Indiana. His stats in this game, because we do have to look at like their individual stats when they play. Um, Here, 1 second. Ah, pause. There you go. He Elijah Surratt had just 3 receptions and 28 yards. Not the best performance, but still solid. He was getting like 9 yards on average. Um, he'll probably go mid-round. The person I think we do really have to talk about is offensive tackle Francis Mauigua. He is like without a doubt the number one offensive tackle, offensive lineman who's going to be in the draft this year. He turned Miami's offensive line into one of the best in the league. They were giving Cam Ward all day to throw. They were giving Carson Beck, even in the national championship against a very good Indiana defense, they were giving Carson Beck a lot of time to throw. Um, who do you think could use an offensive tackle like Francis Mauigo right now?
I mean, there's I wouldn't really say, there are certain teams that need him. I think every single team definitely has to build their O line. You know, and in my opinion, I feel like that's the most physically demanding.
Yeah,
As a position in football. So you never know. Like he may go to a team that doesn't really need somebody. That doesn't need a tackle. Then like let's say somebody gets hurt.
yeah,
Or somebody retires, somebody gets released, traded. Like you never know. So I mean, really, any team, can use a good tackle. Any team, you can have literally the best teams, the best all line statistically, or even just, if you really watch the game, you can have all of that. But then again, it never hurts to really try to add on somebody else to that because now you're preparing them. You have somebody that you rely on, and you're already building them up in the meantime.
yeah,
It's not like he's on the sideline doing nothing. Like, nah, he's watching everything. He's watching films, going to practice, getting his reps. So I don't really think any specific team needs him. It's just that he kind of has to hope he goes to a team that will really try to build around him because that's another thing that teams need to do as well. Your O line is very important. It's not like you try to build around your QB every single time. You
yeah.
got to have that communication, that chemistry, or even just that IQ as a lineman. So I mean, as long as he goes to a good team that has all of that, then he will skyrocket. Like he would definitely be one of the best tackles in the league for sure.
Do you see him as someone who would be able to start in their rookie year?
I mean, he could. I think that more of the physical would be different.
Hmm.
Like he may have everything as far as the vets around him to help him with IQ, but the game speed, the strength, everything, all that is different. So that to have him go out there rookie season is not easy at all because I mean, like now the game is way faster. Yeah, you may have more TV timeouts, you may have a slower pace as far as the overall you know duration of the game, but play after play like is way quicker. It's not as slow. So I think that he could. It's just they really have to make sure during the off season
Yeah,
he's getting his body right, bro. Like he's getting a lot of reps and making sure that he can hold his his ground for a second. So I mean he could dominate. He could really start. But then again, it all depends on what team he goes to. And you're not going to go to a good old line and then take somebody up right away. That's not going to happen. So I think it all depends on what team he goes to. But if he definitely goes to a team where he could, I think he would definitely be a star player on that team for sure.
yeah. Now we have to go into the defense because UM has several players on the defensive side who are going to be going into the draft. First up, Ruben Bain Jr. He has been one of the, like, if not the top edge, one of the top edges in the league. In the championship, he had 8 total tackles, 5 solo tackles, 2.5 tackles for loss, and he was part of the effort along with Akeem Mesidor, who we'll talk about in just a sec, to sack Fernando Mendoza 3 times. He got 1 sack on Fernando Mendoza. Mesidor got the other 2. He is listed as probably like one of the top edges in the season, as well as Akeem Mesidor. Akeem Mesidor, he only had like what three tackles, but he got 2 sacks on Mendoza, a quarterback who has been very difficult to get to. This defense overall was able to hold Mendoza and Indiana to only 27 points, a team that was statistically getting like 30 plus points on everyone. So, same question with them. What kind of use do you think an NFL team could have for these defensive players?
Well, I mean, when you have somebody that's able to, make a play out of anything, that's definitely something that you want on your team. Like you don't want anybody that's going to always try to take that hero role or always try to do everything themselves. They know to come in at the right time and be able to make a play happen. So I think that um teams that definitely could use them, we could really say anybody. Like we could say almost any team, but when you narrow it down, you could say any teams like maybe the Saints, you could say the Raiders, you could say the Titans for sure.
Yeah,
Get them some more help on defense. You could say the Jets because Jets like they really have to completely rebuild everything. Losing coaches and then players and stuff. And then you can even really say some like pretty decent teams. You can say the Packers, you can even say Chargers or even Rams, because those teams will for sure build around him or build around them. They will be able to elevate and not be on that same level, and be able to increase their level very fastly. So I mean, well, I don't really think there's any one team that he has to go to. Yeah, it really all depends on how this next season will be, because you already know there's coaches that still need to be hired, players that may be released, traded. All that comes into play. So you can't really say like one team, but you could definitely have like a wide range of like maybe this would be good.
yeah. Then we gotta talk about the secondary. We got Keontae Scott, a quarterback, and Jacoby Thomas, who is a safety, going to the draft as well. In this kind of like new era of NFL teams, where like defense has been very effective. Not is not an 100%, like solution to everything, but it has been very effective. And we have seen very young secondaries like the one at Seattle, like the one at the Texans, give their teams a lot of success. Um, do you think that's gonna help these secondary players who are gonna be going into the draft this year, like get drafted higher than usual?
I mean, when you look at the overall draft, you look at your prospects and stuff like that, for sure, they'll definitely be drafted high. Like, you don't normally see defensive players get drafted, like high second rounds or even, or really even first round. But I think this will definitely be the draft that changes that. We'll for sure see a lot more, defensive players get drafted first round and second round, and of course third round. But I think that it really all depends on how defense overall, like as NFL, just the skill level gets better and better. I think that's where it'll kind of depend on, because right
Yeah,
now I think this is probably the season that we've seen defense be very very good, even for like a team that's not that good. You know, Browns were top three in defense all season, and yet look at their look at the offensive side of the ball. Look at their record. They didn't have that. They got eliminated pretty much off rip. So
yeah,
that shows like defense right now is getting better and better every single year. So with that, I don't really think that it would be oh, they have to go to this team just because they're good at defense. Like, nah, they could probably go to a team that's been doing horrible in defense all season long or for years. But then they may be that piece, that key to turning everything around. So, well, I mean, I don't know. I think that they'll definitely get drafted high. You know, second round for sure.
yeah,
I'm very strong on that because I don't think really there's any other defensive players in the draft that's like real key players as much as them. I don't think so, at least. So with that, I think that they'll get drafted high. It's just, I mean, then again, the second round, that order is very different from the first. It's not like you is perfectly aligned. So we'll have to see like what teams they go to and how they react to it.
yeah. Well, that's been our college football episode. A little somber, but it's done. It's over. We're gonna be moving on to a new year. Um, as we go into the off season for this college football, we're gonna probably focus on transfer portal for the first few months, and then once the draft starts, coming closer and closer, we'll probably look at that as well. We will also keep an eye on any major changes, whether it be, legal stuff like with NIL, or whether it be head coaches moving around. We will make sure to cover that. But yeah, until then, it has been great. It's been a great season. I don't think we ever thought that would get as far as we did, and it was definitely an insane run. Um, we haven't been ranked this high. We haven't gotten this far since like 2000, since before I think we were born, since like '02. So yeah, it was very cool. That's really all I have to say on it. But yeah, till then, I've been Emil. This is Smash right here. But yeah, bye bye.
Yeah, 60 on it. Yep, low spur. We going all the way up. Yeah. I'm gonna turn this bitch all the way up. Hey, Brandon, why you? Yeah. I'm on the block with that heavy, on the block with that heavy. Watch out for cops that pull up in them Chevys. Whip out the crack, my main trap, her name Betty. These niggas don't want no smoke on my body. Gucci and Louis can't do no Zanati. Bad bitch on me look like she hang with Kylie. I used to fuck with a bitch, hang with Kylie. On the real, I think that bitch live in Cali. My boy shot the powder, the flower, that Kylie. Yeah. I could've been a stylist. I remember when the boys used to dollars. I got a girl that trap like she from Dallas. I got so much money, need an accountant. She said
Moving on. Hello everyone, welcome back to the NFL section of the podcast. I am recording this time instead of streaming. It's my bad. Um, we are now moving into the divisional round. The conference championship round. We just had our divisional games, and they were 3 out of 4 of the games were very exciting. So let's start with the boring one, Samaj. The Seahawks on on Sunday put straight belt to, pardon my language, ass. They ended up beating the 49ers 41-6 at home. They won the game in the first 3 seconds of playing when Rashid Shaheed, the person we picked up from the Saints halfway through the season before the trade deadline, he ran a kickoff return 95 yards all the way back for a touchdown, and at that point the game was won. The Niners did not get more than 6 points. They did not get a touchdown in the whole game. Brock Purdy had, I think, one of the worst games he's had all year. And yeah, there's not much else to say. Before we talk about, what the Seahawks can do with this, first off, we have to talk about the exciting game, which was Rams versus Chicago, in an overtime thriller. Even though Caleb Williams was having a forgettable night with 3 interceptions, or was it 2? 3 interceptions. They brought it back. The Bears forced the Rams into overtime, 17 points. And unfortunately, the Rams did take away the win with a field goal and then intercepted. They intercepted the Bears and then made a field goal. And that's really all there is to say. Matthew Stafford had a very unimpressive night. But regardless, they won. Now that we're going into the conference championship game, which is going to be the Rams at the Seahawks, you never want to play the same team 3 times. And Seahawks have had to play now the Niners 3 times, and now they're going to have to play the Rams 3 times. And, the Rams had, I think, a very tough game against the Bears. And Matthew Stafford did not look like his MVP self. He still threw for 258 yards, but he took 4 sacks. He made less than 50% of his throws. And he had no touchdowns on the game. Do you think this is going to hurt him once he has to go up against the Seahawks?
I think we're kind of having a similar situation with Indiana and UM. Like, you have a team that's very well polished all around. Like, defense, they perform well. And offense, they perform amazing. And then it's like on the other side of the ball, they have the potential, to always play well or play amazing, but they don't really live up to par. They don't really do what they should be doing all the time. So I think with the Rams, it's like they're just that team that even though they may not put up a whole bunch of points, they're still super competitive and they're not easy to beat, So if we have a similar situation with last game and the Hawks aren't able to put up, that many points, then that's what's going to work in, the Rams' favor. But it's like once the Hawks get ahead and they're up by like maybe 2-3 touchdowns, that's where it's going to be, done for the Rams. So you just can't let Rams have that momentum to keep, the Hawks like to pretty much zero for too long. Like you can't let them have that. So I think that's really what's going to come down to, because the Seahawks, like they just have everything going for themselves. Like you could really put anybody on the fields and they're still going to go out there and try their hardest and perform well. So with that, that's a team that you don't really want to play, because you never expect anything from people whose names aren't really called that much. So I mean, if we have that kind of situation, then Rams or it's gonna be in their favor, only because like whenever it's a really close game, they somehow always come out on top. I don't know
Yeah.
how they do it, but it just happens. So if Hawks get ahead, then that's an easy dub. They're gonna be going to the bowl, and then I don't really think they'll have a problem playing whoever else.
Would you say that Matthew Stafford's MVP chances are hanging on this next game?
I'm not sure. I think that if you really go by the season, no. But we know that sometimes like the those late playoff games is what really determines that. Which is
Yeah.
it's the crazy part. It's not even supposed to be like that, because it's not fair. You only have really 8 teams that make playoffs in each
Yeah.
conference. So like that doesn't make sense. But we know that that's kind of how it happens a good amount of time, to where it's always that one game that decides. We've seen that last year with Lamar and Allen. As soon as that
Mhm.
game happened, everybody was like, yeah, Lamar deserves MVP, but right after that game, they were kind of doubting it, and that's what gave Allen the MVP. So with that, I mean, that's what's kind of going to determine it. But I don't think that it should be this game that really determines him getting MVP or not. If you look at every QB's resume all season long, he's he's undoubtedly top three. Like he should for sure be in that conversation, or it should really be guaranteed it. I mean, that's how I personally feel about it. I think that he should probably get that MVP, but I mean, you never know how people are feeling. Like they may say like, yeah, he did good, but then I liked what he did over here, and I might pick him. So that's all it's gonna come down to.
Yeah. Then moving on to the AFC side, Buffalo, the heartbreaker of the year, I think, the Buffalo Bills met the Denver Broncos at Denver. They went to overtime, tied at 30 points. Denver got away with a field goal and a crazy interception on Josh Allen, which ended the game. Now, regardless of the supposed controversy of that interception call, which I don't think is that controversial, to me it looked the receiver didn't survive the ground, blah 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 blah. I think if you look at the big picture, Josh Allen really let his team down. He had 5 turnovers, which included 2 interceptions and 3 fumbles. And I mean, he took he took responsibility for that, which I was very happy to see. It's always good, I think, when you have a quarterback or a teammate who can really take accountability for their actions. But I think this was one of the biggest chances that the Bills have had, as far as I can remember, to make the Super Bowl, to make a competitive run, and they fell short again. We're gonna talk about Sean McDermott after we talk about the games. But is this, do you think this is really hurting Josh Allen's legacy and like his reputation as a good quarterback?
I mean, not really, because you've had this situation a lot. Look at Dan Marino, never
Yeah.
won a ring, but yet he's still one of the greatest quarterbacks to be talked about. I mean, it's I don't really think that when you're an elite quarterback and you're doing everything you can to get your team to where they are, people are going to say like, oh, his legacy is not going to be something great. Like, he won't be talked about in years after he's retired. Like I don't think that happens, because we've seen that happen before. There's been a lot of great players, not even just in football and sports in general, that they've still made the Hall of Fame. They still got close to their rings, and yet they're still some of the most talked about people. So I don't really think that it's hurting his legacy. It's just that it's hurting him. Is I wouldn't say it's not hurting his career. It's just hurting him. Like he's been going through the situation so many times. Like he's been falling short for seasons on end. Like I want to say like maybe around 6 seasons right now, 5 to 6 seasons, ever since we were even like in middle school, like without years ago, ever since Mahomes. So it's just like it sucks for him because he knows he can get there. He knows he can get a ring, but there's always that one thing that keeps him from getting there every single time. Like that it hurts. So I don't think it's hurting his legacy, or just what people think of him. 'Cause, I mean, I like everybody still rides with him. I've never seen anybody, really still ride for their quarterback as much as Josh Allen. There is a lot of controversy going on, with the call, and people are saying like they're going to slander everybody else's name, Lamar and stuff like that, Caleb Williams, but not Josh Allen. They're going to have that, whatever.
Yeah,
That's going to happen no matter what. Like I don't even pay attention to that because people that's going to happen every single time with
yeah,
somebody, even if it's not them. So I don't really pay attention to that, but it's not hurting his legacy. He's still an elite quarterback. Everybody knows that he's been doing literally everything he can, like everything he can to carry his team this far. So I mean, if he can get there, again next year, I think it'll play out different.
yeah. And I mean, then on the Broncos side, they're the ones who are going forward. Bo Nix unfortunately suffered a season-ending fractured ankle, which is crazy because nobody even noticed until the end of the game. And once watch back the like just the broadcast, you can tell that he's in pain. You can tell that he's fighting through it. And it's crazy to me that he fought through a fractured ankle to like just end the game. Like I was watching it back and like I don't know how he did it. It's probably adrenaline, right? But like that's crazy to me. So now the Broncos will be going into a tough championship game against the Patriots with Jared Stidham with their backup quarterback. How much of a chance do you think the Broncos still have after losing Bo Nix?
It's hard to tell because when you look at the whole season, he's been really doing everything. Like they've been in situations where they've been down like multiple touchdowns, and yet he's the reason why they came back and won the game. Like for you to have not that keep a player in a game like this, that's difficult. You're
Yeah,
bringing in or bringing up a QB that hasn't really had any minutes all season long. He has not done anything at all. He hasn't got his reps in game. Like that's hard, bro. Because now you're gonna try to have to do everything you can without your QB being there to help you. Like yeah,
yeah,
he probably gonna be on the sideline, but even then, it's completely different from you being on that sideline, being in between them lines, bro. It's not the same thing at all. So I think that if their defense does, pretty well, and he's actually able to move the ball down the fields, I think they'll be good. I don't think he really has to like have that 250 plus yard game with 4 touchdowns. I don't think he has to have that, but
mm-hmm,
then again, you as a quarterback, you still have to move the chains, bro. It all depends on you and your decision making because you have the ball in your hands as soon as the ball is snapped. So I mean, if it comes down to that, he has a good foundation around him. He has a good support system. He has communication around him. He has experience. So with that, I think that he'll still do pretty decent. It's just you never know, bro. Like it's crunch time right now, bro. Like, it's not no preseason game. It's literally the game that determines you getting all the way to the bowl. So
yeah.
he has to clutch up in this moment for sure.
And then finally, before we look at the matchup that's gonna come, the Patriots and Texans. CJ Stroud, I think, really just objectively lost this game for the Texans. He had 4 interceptions in just the first half. And, the Texans defense wasn't messing around. They kept their team in. They managed to pick off Drake May once. They managed to get like 4 fumbles, or like at least recover 2 of them. And CJ Stroud just couldn't deliver. Like the Texans defense did everything they could to keep this game alive, and they did a pretty good job. They were only 12 points behind, but it wasn't enough. Four interceptions is just too much. But that's gone. We have to look at the future. Drake May got sacked 5 times in this game. by a Texans defense that was, as I said, doing everything to keep this game close. Now they're gonna go against a Broncos defense that is looking scarily like the old no-fly zone of the 2010 Broncos. Um, do you think the Patriots will get lucky again now that they're gonna be going up against a backup quarterback? Or do you think, you know, the Broncos defense will be able to like actually make a dent in the Patriots offense?
I mean, I don't really see it as luck. I see it as something that they're used to. Like we talked about it before, last episode of how Drake May is literally like the most sacked quarterback out of everybody.
Yeah.
He's used to it. Like is one thing for like me personally. If something happens so much, I would be used to it, right? But then it's like the
Hmm.
moment that it stops, you wouldn't know what to do because you're already expecting it.
Yeah.
Now, in your mind's like, okay, like now I'm not getting sacked as much. Is it because like the line isn't doing too well, or is it like they're more over the top? They're trying not to let anything get past them, type of thing. Now you're
Yeah.
going to be thinking about a bunch of stuff like that. So I wouldn't say it as luck. It's just that he was so used to it because we have an O line like that. Yeah, that's another thing too. O line is still pretty good. Like people are gonna not agree with that, but they're still pretty good. Yeah, you may get sacked a lot, but that really does not take away from the O line skill. They're pretty
Hmm.
good. They're amazing. So with that, I mean, it's just he has to carry that same type of thing into this game. You cannot expect going into this game like I'm good. I'm not gonna get sacked. Like I'm gonna have time. Like nah, you can't expect that.
Yeah.
Then it may come down to that 2 minute drive. Now you're running for your life. Trying to make sure you get the ball out on time. Clock management. It's stuff like that. So I mean, he's still going to be pretty good. I don't think May is going to have too much of a problem
Hmm.
because when you look at Texas defense, they're arguably number two, number one. Like that, people are going to argue that. So we have Broncos. That's pretty similar to that. It's pretty much just a rematch, just with different uniforms and different roster. Like that's pretty much what it is. So they're pretty good. If they're mentally prepared for it, it won't shake them up.
Yeah. Who do you think will win between the Patriots and the Broncos?
I think just not having your star quarterback, probably the Patriots. That's a huge factor, bro.
Yeah.
Huge factor. If this was a regular season game, then it could go either way. But right now, is everything is literally on that quarterback right now. Everything is on him,
So
and
you're seeing
everybody's
a
expecting him
Patriots Seahawks
to.
Super Bowl in the cards?
I mean, most likely. I don't really think that Seahawks will have too much of a problem with Rams. Um, as I said before, if they start off early, they'll be pretty good. And then even with the Patriots, they're if they have everything going for them, they don't rely too much on one side of the ball. Defense does the good, offense they move the chains and all that. That they'll easily get past Broncos. Like they're again too world polished of a team. Like it is we're literally looking at two polished teams right here. That's very glossy right now. That's
Yeah.
really what we're looking at. Yeah.
All right. So before we end off this episode, we have some headlines to look at. First of all, we mentioned this a little bit before. Sean McDermott, after 9 seasons without a Super Bowl with the Bills, he is out as the Bills head coach. Um, as a head coach, you had a quarterback like Josh Allen for like 90% of the time he was at Buffalo. What kind of legacy is he leaving behind at Buffalo?
Well, I mean, it's it's rough because I mean, you don't have too many head coaches that's like they show that they're on fire for the team. Like by the way they coach and stuff, you could say that, but just their overall demeanor, how they portray themselves, media and everything, like even on the sideline, all of that, like you could tell he really was like a father for that team. He did everything he could and try to take care of it. So it's kind of sad to see because I mean it wasn't like it was on him. It wasn't like he was a horrible coach or anything. But then again, like time is ticking. There, you never want too many years to go by and you never get a ring or you never get past that or you never get over that hump. You never want that. So I mean, I guess they saw that as like the opportunity. Like last season, it seems that thing, and then now it's like okay, like now it's time for a change. It's time for something different. So with that, I mean, 9 seasons, bro. That's really that's longer than people really think it is. Like we don't really see too many head coaches stick around for too long now because there's so many different politics and stuff like that. So I mean, being there for 9 seasons for pretty much all of Allen's career so far, it hurts, bro. You're
Were
going
you
from a team that
surprised?
like they're really reliable. I wouldn't even say surprised. Like right now, I'm kind of not surprised any coach will get fired. I think there's always coaches that's like their job is on the line almost every single game or every
Yeah,
single season. I think like that right now, there's well over like maybe 15 and 20 coaches where their job is on the line right now. That's what I think. So it wouldn't be surprising. It's just that I feel like they should have did it way different because we've seen how in the draft that didn't go too well for them, not getting some players. I mean, like you got to try to take everything into account. Like maybe trade for somebody.
yeah,
Maybe try to bring another coach in. Like you can't be so quick to fire the head coach. You can't be too quick for that because it probably wasn't even them. So I wasn't really surprised. It's just it sucks, bro, because he's definitely one of the better coaches in the league for sure. So
yeah.
I don't really see why they would let him go.
Next up, we have some hirings. We already have teams hiring their next head coaches. First up, the Dolphins have hired their new head coach. They have hired the former Packers defensive coordinator, Jeff Hafley. I thought it was interesting that they were going with a defensive mind instead of an offensive mind. I guess they're, switching up what they wanted from Mike McDaniels. And then the Titans are also hiring the 49ers defensive coordinator, Robert Saleh. With these two defensive coordinators getting fired, do you think it's gonna become part of a trend where teams want to focus more on defense after the success that we've seen with defense this year, or is it just more of a coincidence?
Well, I mean, when you have very high Q, coordinator on the defensive side, it definitely gives you the upper hand because offense, I'm not going to say you could play anybody as a coordinator and still succeed, but there's so many things that go into it. You have your coordinator, and then of course, your head coach that really agree on those plays, but defense they kind of operate on their own. Like you don't really see the head coach saying, "Oh, you need to be in cover three, or you need to be in a 4-3 right now and a 4-4." Like you don't see that too much. So I mean, for that is different. But I think that it really depends on the team because when you have teams that's been struggling as far as defense, you know, you bringing in somebody that's able to understand defense very well, they're going to help you on the offensive side of the ball because now they're going to be able to point out things that the offense should be looking for,
Yeah,
in game situations. So with that, like it's going to make sense, and it's not that like it's only like that with defense. It's for sure like that with offense as well, but it defense, is very key, very very key. We've seen that all season long, with close games, or even games that weren't close at all, and then that team will come back because of defense. So I think that is pretty good. Um, I just think that maybe they should have took a different approach to it because if you really watch media and stuff like that, or you're deeply into it, they brought in vice president of player personnel for the Packers. So it was like now it's like, oh, it was that bias, or was he really like trying to do something for the team? Like is it kind of goes either way, but I don't know. I think Dolphins right now is more on really just the overall team and not one side of the ball. Not having McDaniels there anymore. He's going to be offensive coordinator for the Chargers. As of about like maybe 45 minutes ago, he's he for him it was different. He was more offensive, so now they're probably trying to see like, okay, maybe defensive. Well, that's probably what they're going to do. And then for the
yeah,
Titans, I mean, we definitely see that defense is something they need. They're kind of in a rebuild. They haven't even came close to this since they've had their star players, Derrick Henry, even Julio Jones at one point, DeAndre Hopkins, AJ Brown, Ryan Tannehill when he was doing pretty good. Even then, defense has not been well for them at all. So I mean, to bring in a coordinator, as your head coach, it could be good for them. We'll never know.
Yeah, and then finally, Harbaugh has officially joined the Giants, the New York Giants. Um, what do you think? He's a good coach. He played for a long time with the Ravens and had, like pretty good record with them. He took them to a Super Bowl back in the 2010s, and now he's gonna be on a like decent Giants team. Like they have decent players. They haven't had a decent record, but they've had decent players. With a second year quarterback in Jackson Dart, who has looked impressive in his first year. Do you think Harbaugh will be able to turn the Giants around on day one, or do you think it'll take him more time than that?
Um, I I mean, it kind of goes hand in hand. He can definitely make drastic changes on day one, but it's not like he's gonna change their overall season on day one. He's gonna have that engine that's gonna be able to drive them all the way to here. But then it's like when you get to this point, now you got to change the tires. I got to change the
Yeah,
oil. Now you got to change this. Like it's you're always gonna have to change something. So he may have that fire to be able to help them on this side of the ball or be able to get in a very good connection with the players and now they're being able to understand the game better, especially with you having a few rookies on the team as well. That's gonna play out that way. But um I mean, I think that we're gonna have like a similar situation as far as with Pete Carroll when he was on the Raiders. I don't think he's gonna get fired after one season if things go wrong, but I think it's gonna be like in that same type of way. But now you have two different things. You have a quarterback going into the second season, you have running back going into the second season, Neighbors being there for his third season. With that is different because now you're not only relying too much on Geno Smith or Bowers, Genty. Now you can actually try to put your pieces together.
yeah,
So with that, he's gonna be able to change it. He's gonna be able to turn the team around. Um, I don't know, man. I think Giants they have the potential to become a very good organization or franchise for so long, and it's way overdue. If nothing happens now, then you can't really blame anything on the head coach at all. You know.
yeah. Well, that's been our NFL episode. I'm very excited for the divisional round. I will be sat on the couch watching that game on Sunday. But yeah, until then, we'll see you guys later. Goodbye.